Let's fucking go.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gaming Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to review Sonic the Hedgehog 3, or just Sonic 3 for short. Now, this trilogy these Sonic movies have been a shocker to me. And these movies have gone through some strange times. We all remember the ugly Sonic fiasco that happened so long ago now when the original Sonic design came out and it was... it was rough. It was rough, to say the least. That original Sonic design was just, it was horror fuel. His teeth! The teeth! But anyways, this was the first time, the Sonic franchise might be the first time a studio being bullied into redesigning actually worked out. Fan backlash actually worked out. It's the only example I can really think of, really, and there might be others, where fan backlash genuinely changed something for the better. It wasn't just bullshit. Like, everyone kind of agreed this design sucks, we need to change it, and they did. They made Sonic more video game slash comic book slash anime accurate. More video game accurate than I'd say comic accurate, but they made it more accurate. They still managed, they kind of used that Detective Pikachu technology to still make the hair on him seem photorealistic. So while his design is cartoony, his fur and his gloves and everything he's wearing still looks kind of realistic. So it's just like he's a cartoon, so it's still cartoonish looking, obviously, with his head and his, his chest and everything. But like I said, they used that Detective Pikachu kind of ish technology to make his fur and shit look real. So that's how they make him look like he's in this world, instead of doing what they were gonna do, which was just making it look like an actual hedgehog, which was Anyway, we got this Sonic. And the first Sonic movie I liked. I didn't love it. There was parts of that movie I very much didn't like. It was too Alvin, because the whole thing I was worried about with that original Sonic was gonna be like Alvin and the Chipmunks, Yogi Bear, the Smurfs, all of these movies with animated characters interacting with human characters where the human stuff is like just so awful, such bad acting, such a bad story, and that you don't even get to capture the vibe of what the animated show presented because you're focusing too heavily on these human characters. And the first movie did a lot of that, although Sonic worked, the actor who plays Sonic worked. So overall, Sonic was great. Sonic worked and Eggman worked. And Jim Carrey came on to play Dr. Robotnik, Eggman. He worked fantastic. So between those two characters in the first movie, I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind a sequel. The sequel blew my brain out the back of my head. First of all, they minimized the human actors and they put more attention on Eggman, Sonic. They introduced Tails, and they brought on Idris Elba to voice Knuckles, which was just inspired casting. I cannot not hear this Australian-ass Idris Elba's voice whenever... I think he's Australian. I don't know. I might be completely wrong there, but or he's British or Australian. I can't remember where he's from. But maybe he's British. But I can't not hear his accent when I can't hear his voice. Not hear his voice when I see Knuckles now, because he does such a fun job. He really played Knuckles like very similar to that of Drax, and he made Knuckles, the comedic timing with Knuckles, the comedic timing with him and Sonic. The last 30 minutes of that movie was amazing. Last 30 minutes of Sonic 2 was some of the best shit I ever seen. I geeked out in the middle of the theater. Like, seriously, me and Seth were fucking geeking, dude. Because this is video games. This is back in the day shit. This is Sonic Adventures, Sonic Heroes shit. I'm like, yo, this is great. Sonic was Super Sonic. It was... Eggman looked like Eggman. He had all his shit. Jim Carrey was amazing. Sonic 2 was great. I think it may have given it a 9 or an 8.5, but I love Sonic 2, which leads us to Sonic 3. So first of all, Sonic 3 takes place maybe not that long. They don't really say how long after the events of the first one, but it's kind of hinted that there's been a lot of downtime. And in that downtime, you know, it's more family bonding. But Sonic 2, one of the things that held Sonic 2 back for me for being perfect was the human element was just so bad. Like, well, not the human element was bad, but there was just, they added shit that didn't need to be there to make characters who were not as relevant to the story more relevant. And it just stopped the whole movie. It was this wedding, all that wedding stuff was just so bad. This Sonic 3 is all killer, no filler. It is. No, like, no bullshit. It is all killer, no filler. This movie is an hour and 45 minutes, and that shit is full speed ahead for like an hour and 30 of it. That might be 10, 15 minutes of town time where they're talking and setting up and talking and having emotional stuff, because most of it is just going right away. From the very beginning, this movie revolves around Shadow the Hedgehog. We all Sonic fans and some video games fans know who the hell Shadow the Hedgehog is. The Dark Hedgehog. The anti-Sonic, so to speak. Shadow is an icon, and amongst a lot of us, you know, that old Shadow the Hedgehog video game holds a lot of weight. Sonic Adventures, Sonic X. Shadow is a very big character to me and a lot of people. And they got none other than Keanu Reeves to voice him. So that was, and Keanu, just off the bat, because the things that have to work is this. Keanu works perfectly. He fits the character, the tone of voice he goes for, the dramatics he goes for, because Shadow the Hedgehog, the Shadow arc in the Sonic universe is a pretty dark kind of story for a kid's movie. I mean, it's about someone seeking vengeance for the death of their friend. So, like, I mean, that's pretty fucking, you know, that's not anything crazy, but that's pretty hardcore for a kid's show / video game. Someone seeking justice, seeking vengeance for the death of their friends, but that is Shadow. And the way they frame it in the movie is Shadow is what Sonic would have turned out if he didn't have a family, because they were off the bat up top, they showed the contrast between Shadow and Sonic. Shadow is, you know, the first Shadow has been held for 50 years in containment, be it with guns pointed at him. Sonic is living with his friends, and they really do. One of the things that worked the best about this franchise is they managed to make, what's his name? Tom? I think it's Tom. They managed to make the human character, I believe his name's Tom, I could be completely wrong, but he is essentially adopted Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic, because, like, they're all children. Well, maybe not children, but they're young. They're still kids. Essentially, they'd all be still going to school. And he essentially adopted them. And the way they play the relationship between you know, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and these humans is they're all adopted children living under the same roof. It's actually, they kind of play it a lot like Shazam. How the first Shazam played it, like all these kids are living with these foster parents and they create this kind of just kind of misfitted family of orphans. And they kind of treat it like that, where these three they're just orphans and this is their family. And it works. It actually works. You believe in the friendship. You believe in the bond between all of these people. And that's kind of the core of the movie. And the movie is trying to say, well, this in Shadow is supposed to represent, obviously, what could have been Sonic if he didn't find this. Maybe he could have went to a dark place too. Maybe tragedy could have struck him and he had become like this. In fact, they kind of mentioned something that was shown in Sonic 2 is him losing his family or the people who were raising him to begin with. So he's still dealing with the death of that. So, and he's still scared of how he would react if something happened to them. Come back to that maybe at another time, but I don't want to spoil anything. But anyways, you get double Robotniks, because not only does Jim Carrey return to play Otto Robotnik, he returns to play his grandfather, Grandpop Otto Robotnik, and that's great. He's great in both roles, and he actually manages somehow, in a crazy Jim Carrey way, to distinguish the two from each other, even though they sound a little bit alike, they look alike, a lot alike, and they have the same mentality. There is a bit of a difference between the two. They play off each other, as you would imagine, very, very freaking well. This movie is high octane. It has some of the best action sequences in the the entire series. Because I said the last 30 minutes of Sonic 2 was awesome, but that was because the action sequences and what they were doing was shit that was just ripped out of the comics, ripped out of the anime, ripped out of the video games. They basically do that. That last 30 minutes of Sonic 2 is basically the whole movie. They're like, almost every shot, almost, is something from a video game, a movie, a TV show, like the anime. Every shot is something from something. There are shots from Shadow the Hedgehog. There are shots that are straight up Sonic heroes. There's a song in this near the end that will make anyone who's played a Sonic game nostalgic as fuck. Like, that shit hit me when they played it. I mean, you get Golden Sonic. You might even see something like everything that happens in this movie is something that harkens back to something, a piece of Sonic lore. And if you're a fan of Sonic, if you followed Sonic, if you've seen any of the Sonic stuff, I can't imagine you not going to this movie and just loving the fuck out of it. Now, it does, it's not without its problems. While I do think they could have spent more time on Shadow's backstory, they could have spent more time with Sonic and really getting over certain aspects. There's something he does later in the movie that's forgiven quite quickly, but it's only forgiven that quickly because they just need to move on. There are bits like that where things happen conveniently for the movie to keep going, or things happen just conveniently for the movie to keep going, and you probably could have took more time to smooth those things out. Also, I would probably say, while I loved Robotnik, and I loved Jim Carrey playing Dr. Robotnik and Grandpa Robotnik, the age-old question of can you have too much of a good thing was really tested in this movie. Because while I love certain scenes with them, and while I mostly enjoyed all the Jim Carrey, Dr. Robotnik crazy shit, at a certain point, it is just overload. It is overload jokes. It is overload antics, and sometimes I found myself, in particular, there's an entire dance sequence with lasers that, while I enjoyed it, I remember like when it ended being like, dude, we could have just not had that, and I wouldn't have felt like I missed anything. It's just Jim Carrey is just going buck fucking wild, which works, but at times I was like, dude, I do wish he could pull back a little bit, man. He is just going so crazy, dude. But overall, I love the movie. I think this is the best one of the trilogy. They set up another movie, so in the ending, so there is a post-credit scene. They do set up a sequel, and they do introduce another character from the Sonic Hero universe, kind of indicating that this is going to be the direction they go in. The ending was satisfying. The last fight between Sonic and Shadow was epic. I mean, it was just straight up some DBZ shit. I mean, that's basically what they did. They just straight up did some DBZ shit. Like, it was like DBZ part Man of Steel, like it was really some badass shit near the end of that movie. But anyways, I loved it. I would give Sonic the Hedgehog 3, or just Sonic 3, a 9 out of 10. I love the movie, man. It was fun. It like I said, it wasn't perfect, but it was fun as hell. And for me, it probably goes a lot further with me, just because I grew up with the Sonic games. I grew up with the Sonic animated Sonic X show. I played the old games. I played a lot of the newer games. I mean, like the Sonic is just, it means a lot to me. I know a lot of that lore, and so much of this movie meant so much to me, dude. I can't wait to see what they do with Sonic 4. Though I will say this though, to end. I don't know how far they can push this, because, like, I hate to break it, Sonic's Rogue doesn't get much more interesting. Like, the Shadow story is really the big epic Sonic story. There are some big epic stories, but that one was the most personal story, and there's only so many times they can sort of kill off certain characters and bring them back before it starts to actually affect it. I don't know how much more they can get out of this franchise, but hey, look, I love this one, so I'll show up for 4, but I do have my doubts they can make another one better than this one. Anyways, thank you guys for joining my Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. What do you comment below? What did you think of Sonic 3? I freaking loved it. Anyways, thank you guys again. See you on the next one.